Hey everybody, Ken Newhouse here, and we've got our special guest, just covered her bio in the introduction. We've got Paige Mead, author of just a really good book, really solid book. It's a really, it's got a great plan in it. Paige, on behalf of myself and the members of Get Clients Now Nation, I want to welcome you to the show. How you doing today?
Thank you, Ken. I'm doing great. Thank you.
It's good to have you. Hey, listen, we're in the midst of, obviously, depending on people who are listening to this, we're in the midst of World War Z, like the coronavirus pandemic, and while it's really hammering people, not, obviously their health is in jeopardy. That's kind of scary. That can be very scary. As a retired chiropractor, and one of my undergraduate majors was in human biology, so I'm completely aware of all the things that are going on. My sister works in the ER. One of my nieces is a registered nurse. The other one is a nurse practitioner, and they all work. The nurse practitioner is in a practice, but the other two are ER nurses. So, yeah, so it's definitely front line. But at the same time, Paige, it's hurting a lot of people's pocketbooks. It's hurting their business. People that are employed are losing their jobs and stuff. So we're going to talk about your book today because it's a great book. And guys, whether you're hearing this and things have turned and things are looking up, which I think they will be very, very soon, a lot of promising treatments on the horizon, this is an opportunity for you guys to listen, because I know a lot of you guys will be looking for a job. And if you're not looking for a job because you lost a job, you're looking for a better job, or you're looking for a job that can be really, really exciting and fulfilling. The dental industry is an awesome place to work. So Paige, with that, if you're ready, let's rock and roll and get this going.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. So if you could, Paige, these are questions, the first two, and all the members of the nation know this. These are questions that I ask everybody, but if you could, the first question is, how did you get, you've written a really, really killer book. You got a really killer business. You're helping a lot of people find really those dream jobs that they love to get. But how did you get to the point where you are now? What brought you into the dental industry? I'm really not sure how long you've been in the dental industry, but you have a professional recruiting company. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could take 2 or 3 minutes or so, give us a backstory of what brought you to that point, how you built your successful business, and how you came about writing this book.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you. I've actually been recruiting for a little over 20 years, and I started in the staffing industry. So if anybody knows what that is, it's basically companies who need temporary employees. So it's a very high-paced or fast-paced industry with a lot of burnout, actually, but I enjoyed it. It was wild. It gave me a chance to really see a lot of industries and to kind of play here and there and figure out where my biggest enjoyment was, really. And then if you fast forward, which you kind of have to do, I kind of tripped over the dental industry. I had a very good friend, colleague from when I was in staffing, came out of the financial services segment, and he actually had gotten a job with Burkhart Dental Supply on the West Coast. Yeah. And I had taken some time off with my husband. We'd had a couple of children, and it was just that time to decide whether I wanted to look back. So I called him. Hey, where are you? What are you doing? And he said, I'm at Burkhart. What is that? He said, dental supply. I said, you mean like dental floss and toothbrushes and things? Because, I never thought about it before. And he said, yeah, you ought to take a look at it. So I'm summarizing, but basically I came on board with the company at a time when they didn't have a very significant human resources department. Was just that time in the industry where we were going from, we don't need to recruit, people find us, and, wait a second, where is everybody? And so I literally got to play and build them a recruiting program. I got to learn all about dentistry, which I never even thought I was going to want to. And I had a chance to meet the industry from the top down. So just these tremendous business leaders and people who had put together this space that you really don't know about unless you grow up in a family with dentists.
Right.
Or you're around it all the time. But then all of a sudden you're standing in the middle of it. It's just huge. And I found out I loved these people. And then what was even weirder was I actually loved what was going on in dentistry. And I just didn't know any of those things before. So, fast forward again, I spent about 8 years with Burkhart, and I think of it as my graduate business education, because as a family-owned company in their sixth generation and their first female president, I just had experiences you don't get to make up, and then realized it was time to do something on my own, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do because I'd been in the industry. I knew what the challenges were. I had some very good friends saying, go, we need this, do this. And so I jumped out the window, so to speak, and launched Paige Mead Recruiting.
It's hard to keep an entrepreneur, a person with that true entrepreneurial spirit. And I appreciate what you said about that being in a graduate degree, because most people would not look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually knew people who went to work, actually, and I can't recall it who it is. These are very famous, very wealthy, very well-known individuals
Mm-hmm.
who are in marketing and advertising now. A couple of them, I think, are probably not alive anymore, but they actually took jobs after they were very, very wealthy, but they wanted to start a business in another industry. So they took a low-level job and worked their way up over the period of a couple of years so they could learn as much as they could about it. Then they
Mm-hmm.
quit that, and then they dove back in from the entrepreneurial side, and they cleaned house.
Yep.
One of them was a restaurateur, and I think it might have been the guys who started Einstein Bagel Company, Einstein and No Bagel Company. I think it was the owner or owners, or one of the two is one of the guys I'm thinking of. But let me ask you this, Paige, just another question I love to ask, and then we're going to dive into the topic today, talk about your book and some of the other things you're doing. But has there been any, like an individual, you mentioned your friend who, said, hey, come work at Burkhart. And Burkhart, by the way, is a great company. But was there any individual maybe growing up, or anyone that inspired you or encouraged you that was like, hey, Paige, you can do this on your own. You can run your own business. Somebody there that really believed in you or supported you? Or was there a book? A lot of times, I have to admit, this is a somewhat selfish question, because from time to time, someone will drop the name of a really good book that I haven't read. I'm an avid reader, read literally a couple of books a week. A good week, I'll knock out 3. But any books, any people, anything that comes to mind as far as somebody who inspired you to go ahead and go into business for yourself and be the entrepreneur that you are today?
Well, the answer is yes and no. On the one hand, I didn't come from a family of business owners or business builders, but I was always a little bit out of a fish out of water in my own family. And I tend to be kind of a stubborn, go ahead, I dare you, tell me you can't do it kind of a person. But then when you look at just at life in general, and when I stand back and look at the picture, I have an amazing husband who is the most incredible fan ever.
That's great.
And I'm just a rock solid human. So you get to those up and down scary places, and he's just constant. I have to say he's definitely a big fan. But then, like you mentioned, the friend who called me over into Burkhart, his name's Ken Scott. He's in the front of the book, and I thanked him for it. Just people who believed in me and said, come on over, jump into the school I'm playing in. And then I would definitely say there is one more person who was very inspiring to me, is Jeff Denny, another guy in the industry who honestly is just opening his own search firm as well. But he was a huge, huge part of my, all right, I'm just going to go do it. And he cheered me on all the way. So very, very dear friend and great support. And that's probably just the small list. So yeah, there are tons of people who I would call as part of my team on this, at least in the cheering section.
Now, my background's very similar. You and I have so many things in common. It's kind of strange, but
Really?
it's kind of cool at the same time. Well, my family is unlike yours in the sense that they've been self-employed. Well, since I was little.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had a job when I was little, and then he left that to go into business with my uncle. And then a year later, my dad bought my uncle out. But my dad was just a laborer. My dad has, both my parents are high school educated, but my dad worked as a glass installer in automotive glass, but then he started his own business where he was installing glass, and he built that into a company, really almost like a job for himself. But he employed several other people.
Yeah.
But my dad actually, I hated it. I'll be very honest, and they know that, but I hated it because I got dragged into that when I was a kid. As a teenager, you're going to help your dad. Go help your dad. And so I didn't enjoy it, but my parents instilled in me, I've never had a job. I was in the U.S. military in the United States Air Force. And other than that, I am forever unemployable because of the entrepreneurial spirit in me.
Yeah.
I got to do things my way. And if I make a mistake, dang it, it's my mistake. I made the mistake, but it's just ingrained in me. So the whole idea of having a job, and I think if I did have a job, the kind of job I would have to have, and this is one of my questions I'll ask you later,
Sure.
is a sales job, but or maybe, I was in control of everything as much as possible. And I don't even know if that's possible because I'm not really familiar with this room. But speaking about, and also you said, I'm the kind of person that, tell me I can't do something, dare me I can't do it. And that's actually one of the things that motivates me more than anything else is when somebody says, you can't do that. And if it's something I want to do, I'll be like, okay, well, thanks for the motivation. I needed that. That's what I needed to light a fire. And I also have the benefit of the beautiful and talented Lisa, my wife, who I met and stole from Septidont when I first met Lisa. She was a manufacturer rep. That's how I got involved in this crazy world of the dental industry. I was only marketing and working with chiropractors and actually a couple orthodontists at that time and a couple MDs. But for the most part, I didn't know anything about the dental industry. And my first exposure to working with the dental industry is the Seattle Dental Convention. I flew up with Lisa. And the guy who invented Septicane, the doctor, was supposed to be there. He was late. And so she wanted to get me into the convention, but I didn't have a name badge. And Dorothy, her boss at the time, and I won't say Dorothy's last name, but she didn't know anything about it, but she got me this guy's name. And so when I was walking through, I wanted to see the marketing, what they were doing. I wanted to see how dentists got new patients because that's what I did. And so they're like, hey, are you related to that doctor who invented Septicane? I'm like, no, actually this is his name badge. He's, it's a Septidont name badge, but it's kind of a funny story, but that's how I got involved. And I have to say I was quite shocked at the marketing capabilities of a lot of companies. I was underwhelmed. And at the same time, I was shocked at how much money they were charging these dentists to give them marketing. I mean, it was shocking. A lot's changed since then for the better, but having said that, let's talk about your book because it's a really good book. And whether a person's actually looking for a book, it's an achievement. It takes a lot of discipline to write a book. I went 10 years creating information products, like a lot of writing and stuff. But I kept saying, I got to write a book. I got to write a book. I got to write a book. And finally I just said, I'm going to write a book. And I set a deadline and I wrote the book. And then, it's not like it's the greatest book in the world. There's a lot of value in the book. And then I wrote another one. And so it's an accomplishment. It takes a lot of discipline. And I want to congratulate you on that. And then at the same time, congratulate you on the fact that you wrote a really solid book. It's a really, really helpful book. It's a plan. So if a person's looking for a job, if they're considering moving, it's like, hey, step by step by step, get the book. And then I would say the next obvious thing would be to, hey, give her a call if you're serious about getting a job where you can make a boatload of money and have a lot of fun. Paige Mead is the one to call. So Paige, my first question, and the title of your book, I'm going to read it because I want to make sure I get this right, is The Chocolate Room, Exploring the Dental Industry is Your Next Sales Career Destination. That's the name of the book. And so my first question is, how in the world did you come up with the name Chocolate Room? I think people are going to want to know that.
Well, it definitely wasn't the first thing that I was thinking about, but dentistry is just a wild and crazy space to me. It's not only a place I never thought I would be interested in, but I didn't even know about it. And so there are times, I've got plenty of people in my life who have nothing to do with dentistry. And if I tell them what I do and where I do it, it's such a niche focus that it's kind of hard to explain it to them. That's exactly what was happening. I was trying to explain to a friend of mine who is not from dental what exactly I was writing about. And I started to tell her a story that I actually refer to a little bit in the book later, but it was, it was intended to be, oh, well, this place is just so cool, and you haven't seen it before. And I realized, ooh, there's something else I want to say, and it just kind of spilled out. And you remember that scene if you're my age or if you were born in the 70s, when Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder came out, and that movie was just, man, everybody heard about it. The kids in the neighborhood, we're all running home, we're gonna watch it tonight. And there's that one scene in the beginning where they step into this kind of park-like atmosphere, but it's
Mm-hmm.
really a room in the chocolate factory.
Yeah.
And Wonka refers to it as the chocolate room. But what it is, as the camera pans around, is every kind of candy you could possibly think of, and everything you touch, you're supposed to be able to eat it. And so here I am. I found myself explaining to this friend who wasn't in dental that this is how the industry looks to me. It looks like the chocolate room. And I saw her face get big, and I thought, yes, that's exactly how I feel about it, which is it's so weird to geek out about something like this. But it's exactly how I see it. So then all of a sudden there wasn't another title for the book. It just fit.
You know, you might think it's weird, but Paige, I got to tell you, I work with a lot of very, very successful entrepreneurs.
Huh?
I don't have a lot of clients because I limit the number of people that I work with, but I've worked with a lot of people over time. And I have to tell you, the people that do the best, the people that are the most successful, the people that serve their clients or their customers or patients the best, where their tribe, if you will, absolutely love them, are the people who geek out and really love what they do. So that is another bonus for you. That's just a really good thing to have. I mean, think about this. Who wants to create a business, or whether you're creating a job for yourself, which unfortunately some dentists do. They don't have the entrepreneurial gene. They just create a job for themselves. But who wants to create a job or a business that you hate going to, that you're not passionate about, that you don't wake up every day excited? I mean, I get to talk to all these cool people, a whole bunch of people every week. And while they're not all clients of mine, a lot of them, I just love to hear stories, and I love to hear how people are succeeding, how they're helping other people. That encourages me and lifts me up. And this is a time where, I need that right now. I think we all need that to a degree, is to be encouraging to one another. So hold on one second. Hold on one second. I want to make sure I hear an alarm in the background outside, like a national, like one of those local tornado alarms, but we don't have tornado weather today. I don't know what it is. So hopefully it doesn't, can you hear it in the background on my mic?
No.
Okay, cool. So it's being filtered out. That's good. Sometimes they'll do like a test, and it comes through the room I'm in my condo is built out to be like a studio, but still it might come through the wall.
Well, I guess you'd want it to if there was really an issue, right? You'd want to be able to hear it.
Yes. And actually, when I just went on vacation with the beautiful and talented Lisa about a week and a half ago, we went through Tennessee, and I drove because I wanted to stop and look at some horses. And I'm a big horse guy, but do some fishing along the way. And then we went to the Smokies, and then also the Blue Ridge Mountains, which are pretty much one and the same. It's just one side of the mountains or the other. But a tornado went right through Nashville, several tornadoes. And one of the tornadoes, and I don't know how it didn't kill more people. I mean, I drove through Joplin, Missouri. I don't know if you know anything about Joplin.
Been there, but not much. No. Yeah.
There was a tornado, an F5, 8 years ago, that went through Joplin and killed about 300 people. But it literally, when I drove through it, this is when I lived in Oregon, Portland. We drove back to move back here. I drove through, and you could see the path. It was over a mile wide. Nothing. Sucked all the houses, foundations down in the ground were the only thing left. Cut the hospital in half. Like literally 5-story hospital, and it looked like somebody took a jigsaw, a sawzall, and just hacked, or chainsaw, and cut it in half. Gone. Nothing on the ground for miles. This wasn't that bad, but it went right down the middle of the highway, which I'm thinking these poor people in Nashville dealing with all that. Now the thing we're dealing with COVID-19 and the coronavirus and all the other stuff. But let me ask you the next question. So if a person, we're going to talk about working in the dental industry. So the first thing I want to ask you, and I know you're passionate about it, is what is so great about the dental industry? Why would a person, let's say they're working as a salesperson, as a sales professional in another industry, why would they even consider, and if you want to geek out, it's okay, why would they consider the dental industry? Because, quite honestly, half the people that go to the dentist are terrified. Dental fear is real. We're looking at this from a whole different perspective. We're looking about an industry that really it's a lot of fun to work in this industry. There's a lot of activity. It's busy, busy, busy. And it's never boring, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So why, in your estimation, would a person, and you talk about this in the book quite a bit, but why would a person want to, what's so great about the dental industry? Why should they consider it?
I love that question. It's always just a little bit different in my head too, every time I think about it. And, you know, to that end, I'm definitely going to answer this question, but I think the part about having a role that you wake up excited to go to, it's not something that's an accident. You have to be willing to investigate options and try different things. It's the only way you figure out what's exciting that you love to do. And I'm minimizing a little bit, but I think that leads into why dental. Because if you have been the kind of person who has looked around or who has opened your mind to different options and you stumble on dental, I think there are a whole lot of pieces that make it better than other places. And you kind of have some of those other experiences to know it. You know, as a sales professional in a healthcare field, dental is great for some pretty obvious reasons. We are still not driven by insurance. And because of that, we have a lot of freedom. I don't know if this is a nice thing to say, but if I had my way, I would have insurance go away and stay out of dental, because there are pieces here you can't get anywhere else, and they're worth holding on to. And just the freedom of choice, whether it's, you know, choosing the doctor you want to spend your time with and build a lifelong relationship with them, or whether it's pick what you're going to buy and work on in your practice, pick which equipment you want and how you want to build a practice around caring for people. I think there's just freedom everywhere you look. And then you have to add to that, and again, this is something I think I became aware of because I have been in other industries. We've got pioneers here. That's how I would describe most of the business leaders in our industry, whether you're looking at it from the company side, manufacturing, distribution, or whether you're looking at from the practice side. I see this commonality among the leaders, just this kind of pioneering spirit. There's a lot of people here who will say, tell me I can't do it. Just go, you know? And so to a degree, I feel like I'm in my crowd sometimes. And to another degree, there's no end to that energy. So it's not like it's a perfect place. And it's certainly not like it isn't challenged or threatened by outside influences. But I do still think we have a bit of a kind of a haven and a place where you can practice healthcare and be with people that you just don't have the same opportunities in other spaces.
Yeah, I've always seen, you know, being a retired chiropractor, and, you know, you mentioned that you would like it to all be cash. I would as well. In fact, the last 9 years that I practiced, all of my clinics, and I had 6 when I retired, employees and everything else, this is one of those things where people said, you can't do that. It's never going to work. You're going to go bankrupt. But I went 100% cash.
Right.
I hated insurance because my whole thought was, hey, listen, my relationships with my patient, I don't want somebody, and, you know, not to knock somebody with just a high school education, because a couple of the most successful, wealthiest people I've ever known in my life, mean old Dan Kennedy's one, and my father-in-law, who's now deceased, from Germany, is another. They had a high school education.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Joe the German, I lovingly call him, I think went through the 8th grade, but he was worth, I don't know, $15-20 million by the time he died. Right. So he was educated, just not in a formal way. So, but when I say this, my relationship was with my patient, and I really was offended at the idea of someone sitting behind a desk, looking at a computer screen, telling me what was quote unquote medically necessary for my patients when they hadn't seen my patient. They don't know my patient. They hadn't looked in their eyes. I mean, there's a lot that goes on when you're working with a patient. So that's one of the things that drew me to the dental industry, is that they have much more so than the medical profession. And I've got some very good friends that are medical doctors, but in the dental profession, it's kind of a combination of both, in that with the dental industry, you're working very closely, intimately it's hands-on with your patients. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot more conversational. It's a lot more engaging, you know, the doctors, if they're good with their patients. But yeah, I think being cash would be great. And at the same time, I do think there is tremendous opportunity. So if a person's and you cover this again in the book, but if a person is considering, hey, I'm gonna pursue, Paige has got me excited, I'm gonna get her book, I'm gonna read it, which you guys should get her book and read it. It's a good book. Especially if you're looking for an exciting career, she's the person who can lead you there. But is there a plan? Is there a step-by-step process that person should take before they just start the shotgun approach of applying for a job? And by the way, if I say something that doesn't make sense about getting a job, it's because I've never had one. So I don't know if I'm using the right language. It's like, if I use chiropractic language, trying to talking to a medical doctor, they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" So thankfully, I've been involved and worked in all the different industries. So I guess it gives me a unique position. But did I ask that question like in a way that makes sense? Is there a plan, or is there a process a person should go through before they just the shotgun of, I'm going to apply here, I'm going to apply there, I'm going to apply there?
Yeah, there is. I think it's important to note that my specialty is the sales arena, the professional sales arena in healthcare. And so really that is who the book is aimed at. But I think there's a lot of pretty standard steps that you can apply to any job search. But specifically, I'm talking to salespeople in the book who maybe they've been in dental their whole life, but they've had their nose to the grindstone, so they don't have the benefit of knowing what's new and different and who's come in there. Or maybe they've been in healthcare or some other selling profession, and they just don't know where to go next. I think once you get used to the idea that dentistry is a pretty cool place, then you can look around and see that there are personalities to all these companies. If you make the mistake of just shotgun, send your resume everywhere and you don't do your homework first, well, first I think you're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of energy. But if you start on the other side and really survey the landscape and realize that you can get a lot of information about these companies, I think the plan starts to unroll for you. You figure out what it is you want to do. You figure out where you are right now, and then you look at your choices, really. And I think this is something that I tell everybody. We're not in the economy we used to be in, where people don't have a choice about where they work. Sometimes it still feels that way, and folks feel like they're not in a position of power when they're looking, but we have so much information at our fingertips. We really, really do. And we have people around us that know what's going on. In this industry, there are stories, there's history, there's plenty of reason to take a look at a company and decide if it's a good match for you, because there's just enough information there to figure it out. And so I think what I try to do in the book is help people actually take those steps. Well, what does it mean to get to know the company? What does it mean to figure out what their culture is, and why should I even care? That stuff I think can be broken down and made into smaller bites, and it changes the experience of looking for work, because you're looking for something that's much more significant. It can do much more for you. I'm not sure if I answered that question.
No, you did great. You did great. I just want to follow that up. I mean, I do have the advantage of, number one, the beautiful and talented Lisa worked as a manufacturer's rep. She was a dealer rep before that, which maybe language that most people listening, well, I would say probably half the people listening understand, because there are a ton, like a bazillion dentists that listen to this show and are members of the nation. But we have a lot of consultants that sell to dentists that listen to this. And we just have people who are just regular business people or consultants that don't sell to dentists at all. We also have chiropractors who listen. And so with respect to that, talk about, let's just pretend for a second that I'm the guy looking for a job. And let's say, because a good friend of mine actually he's a pharmaceutical rep in the medical industry. I go to church with him. Uh-huh. He sells a cancer drug. It's a type of chemotherapy, and it's pretty promising, but seems kind of depressing to work in that particular field. But if he was going to come from that, or I was going to come from that into this, how would I know what to investigate? How could I see all the different, what resource would I use, I guess is my question, to figure out what different sales career opportunities were available? If I don't know that much about dentistry, I mean, you have capital equipment, you've got local dealers you could sell for, you got manufacturers. I mean, could you kind of walk us through that process and talk about that for just a few minutes?
Sure, absolutely. I think it kind of starts with, if you can imagine yourself standing in a dental office, everything in a 360-degree circle, nailed to the floor otherwise, is sold by somebody in our industry. So whether it's that, cool piece of imaging machinery that you don't know what it's called in the corner, but it goes around your head and gives this great picture, it's something like that. Or even if it's the chairs or the lights or the cabinetry, there is something for everybody that you could get excited about selling. And every product has a different type of sales process, and it has a different company that's creating it. there's nitty gritty in every little thing. So first you have to acknowledge that you've got choices and then start pulling them apart one at a time. All right, well, who are all the companies that make this particular thing? And what are my choices there? Which one's this one like, that one like? I think that's the point, is it's really worth your time to investigate. So for instance, your friend who's selling pharmaceuticals, I get a lot of people from different healthcare verticals say, okay, well, what can I do over there? Pharma is very, very insurance driven. So there are,
Right.
there are a ton of reasons to come over and go, oh my gosh, that's okay. I could sell something and it's not going to be shelved because insurance decided not to carry it tomorrow. It's a different existence. And, the science is still a huge part of what we're doing, and the medical advancements are there left and right. We're just not controlled by outside forces so often that, we can't do what we want to do. So, for somebody who's just trying to figure out where to jump in, I have made it my purpose to have information to people that they can actually do something with. It's one of the big reasons I am in my business, because I believe information is power.
Right.
And so I would absolutely say, well, get connected to me. That's one of the places. And I have an ongoing growing network of other recruiters in our space as well, who see different aspects and angles of the industry. There's too much fun stuff to think about and look at to not connect with someone and get help and listen to what they have to say.
So let me ask you this, Paige,
yeah.
and I'll ask you again later when we wrap up the show. How do people get in touch with you? What's the URL to your website?
Yes, thank you. So you could find me at PaigeMeadRecruiting.com.
And how do you spell Paige, just to make sure, because it's not like the paper page?
No, it's not. It's Paige Mead, MEAD. There's no E at the end of Mead. Recruiting.com, PaigeMeadRecruiting.com. And I am actually only in one place in social media. I'm on LinkedIn. Learned this a while ago in my life. I can't be more than one place fully. So if you want to connect with me, that's where you'll find me.
And I got to tell you guys, I'm connected with a lot of people on LinkedIn, and I'm seeing Paige everywhere on LinkedIn, and I'm seeing people saying great things about her everywhere on LinkedIn. So that's actually how I found her. So Paige, you talk about in the book, and I think this goes to personality styles possibly. You talked about different sales styles. One of the styles you mentioned was a hunter. And so if you could, there has to be more than a person who's just like me, a real go-getter, somebody who's out there really going for it. What is a hunter, so to speak? Because I know some people can do really well at sales and they're introverts, which is kind of counterintuitive, but introverted people oftentimes will be like the most successful entrepreneurs or the most successful salespeople. So you don't have to be gung-ho, loud, and in your face to do well at selling. You could be rather introverted. So if you could talk about the different styles of selling and the different kind of personalities, I guess, people have, and how that'll work in dentistry.
Absolutely. Sales is a professional career that takes a lot of skill. And so that's, one of the first things to overcome for people is that selling is it's just sales. It's not, not a big deal. You have to practice your craft. You have to study. You have to update yourself. There are always different selling philosophies out there, but it is not an accidental career by any stretch of the imagination. You have to be smart and you have to be very articulate. You don't have to be an extrovert, though, like you're saying. And I think when it comes back to selling style, it's important for people to figure out who they are naturally. So every selling position involves some amount of hunting, and every salesperson hunts throughout their career. And by hunting, I mean it exactly as it sounds. You have to go looking for the business opportunity. You cannot wait for it to come to you. But whether you're an introvert or an extrovert has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how much excitement and energy you get for the hunt. So, the flip side of that is the account management and relationship building side. And you need both of those things, but some items are better wired for more of one than the other. So to say,
give us an example.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. So the easiest example I can pull from is if we're looking at the industry, we've got distributors and we've got manufacturers. If you're the company that makes the product, you're the manufacturer. If you're the distributor, you get to lay out all the choices in front of the client. While not every company sells through distribution, many, many do. And it's a very different type of salesperson who occupies the distribution role from one who occupies the role with the manufacturer. I would say if you really like that hunt, and if that's where you get your energy from and that's exciting for you, then the manufacturing side of the industry might be a better fit because it just tends to be more of the activity that's involved with those. Whereas if you're a rep and you work at a distributor, you spend more time with your client. There's
Right.
more of a managing relationship piece that goes on there. And again, they're not exclusive of each other. It's just one is a little more one way than the other. So it starts by figuring out, where do I get my excitement? Am I excited by the hunt and the pace? Or am I excited because I get to see my client every couple of weeks and I want to? And that matters. And it's about how you're wired, really.
So one of the things I want to ask you, and this just popped into my head, it's one of the questions I wrote down. You wrote down, there's, in addition to what you just said, but you also mentioned that you could, quote unquote, carry an independent sales bag.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you to talk about that. But first, I want to pose this question to you.
Sure.
I don't know if it's possible. And I'm always looking for ways where I can serve and at the same time with minimal effort, make as much money as possible. I'm in business to make a profit on purpose, but I got to deliver the goods.
Uh-huh.
Would there be a way for me, so I continue still, based on the quote unquote independent sales bag idea, if I'm understanding this correctly, would it be possible for a guy like me who's got relationships with thousands of dentists and a huge platform where I'm followed by lots of people to say, promote a piece of capital equipment for a particular company without me having to go out and sell door to door, and I get paid for that? So if I promoted four-dimension, like 4D X-ray on my show for a particular company, or one of the units where they make crowns in office that are very pricey, and we could track my sales to my show, would there be a way for me to actually, you're the expert, is that possible? Or no, that's just too far off the beaten path and too irregular for them. It's too foreign to them. It'd be too new. They wouldn't understand how to deal with that. And we know how the dental industry is. Sometimes it can be a little slow to adopt in advanced things first. They're a little behind cutting edge when it comes to, when I say cutting edge, like internet marketing, and I'm not talking about like cheesy internet marketing, but like real high level marketing automation like we do. Sometimes you'll run into companies, and that's why I don't necessarily work with companies for a lot of reasons, but they're a little behind on things. But is that a possibility for me? Answer that question about the independent sales bag, and then follow it up with, yeah, that might actually work. I don't know. Or no, that's not how this works.
Can I answer it in the reverse order?
Answer it however you want. That's fine.
Okay. So how you get things done in dental or anywhere else has a lot to do with the brain of the person who's listening to your plan as well, and their ability to open up something innovative. I think from the perspective of, could that work for you in your specific scenario right now? Yes, but it's probably going to come out of a company's marketing dollars versus a traditional selling role for that. From an independent standpoint, I think that's part of what's beautiful about it is there are a bazillion different ways that you can do something as long as you're legal, you don't have a conflict of interest, and you're not lying to anybody.
Yeah, obviously. You can't do that. That's a bad thing. We don't tolerate that. Yeah.
But as long as we can track the data, there's a way to do it. So to the other question about being an independent rep and carrying an independent bag.
What does that mean?
Yeah, let's get into that, because I personally think we all ought to be thinking like an independent.
Okay.
So when somebody is talking about what's in their bag, they're literally referring to what are the products that they can sell? What do they have to choose from? Most reps sell for one company unless they're with a distributor, but you'll be limited by that company and the offerings that that company pull together
Right.
in one bag. If you're a distributor, you have a whole lot of choice in what you can offer to your clients. But when you just stand back and you look at what the choices are for each rep personally, I think we fall into the trap of thinking, well, I'm an employee, I'm going to represent this company, or I'm going to go out on my own and do all the scary stuff and be an independent. What that means is I don't work for just one company. I decide, within the limits of products being compatible with each other, I decide what I want to sell. I assemble a bag, an option for clients, and I sell those pieces. So independence gives you a little more risk, generally speaking, because you're not a W-2 employee for one company.
So
But
that
it
would
all,
be like 100% commission sales job then,
yeah,
right?
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. It's
Okay.
exactly right. But if I choose to do that, not only are my commission potentials higher, but I write the contracts with these companies. I make the decisions for myself about what they're going to be. And yes, there's more risk. There's no floor under me that's going to catch me if I fall. I'm not working for one particular company, but I think you can look around right now and see there's no real safety net under just about any position. And if you are in sales as a career, you are open to and interested in taking on risk. So I just think people ought to think that way.
That's you brought up a really good point, and this is why, obviously there is a need. There are huge needs for people to be employed, for companies to have employees.
Yes.
I had over 30 employees for a long time, and I said, hey, listen, I'm burnt out on babysitting adults. For me personally, I outsource to vendors who are self-employed and highly accountable. And if they want to keep my business, they do a great job. I love that relationship.
Yeah.
But there is a need. But I hear so many times say, listen, people say, listen, I could never work for myself because I need the security of a job. And I got news for you. If the last 2 weeks hasn't opened your eyes to the fact there is no job security, maybe perceived job security, but ultimately you're at just as much risk working for someone as an employee as you are carrying your independent sales bag, like Paige just said. So if a person wanted to do that, how do they go about, again, I'll make myself the person. So let's say that I'm like, okay, well, I have a relationship with all these people, all these dentists, and I could convince them of a particular product if one came to mind, and I would want it to be something very expensive so that I could make a lot of money with little effort based on the relationship of trust I have with my clients. And this is obviously not something I'm intending on doing. This is a what if scenario. How would I go about starting? Because I know there are a lot of people who are entrepreneurial who listen to this who are like, I got to do something different. Hey, I didn't even know that's a possibility that I could still be my own boss and go sell and make a really, not just a good living, a lot. You could make a lot of money. Like we're talking, you could make a couple $100,000
or more. Yeah.
Oh, easily. Yeah. And so people, when they realize how much money you can make selling stuff in the dental industry, if you're good, and there's a lot to being good. This is a profession. Words have meanings. But how would I go about that, Paige? Let's say, how do I go out and contact people? Do I go through someone like you who has a bazillion relationships with like heavy hitters in the industry? Or would I go on my own? How would I build myself as an independent person? How do I establish those relationships with people who's, manufacturers who have products to sell? How do we go about that?
Great question. Before I answer it really directly, I want to point out that whether or not a person decides to work for a company or build their own independent selling business for themselves, that is also about how we're wired. Some people do really well without getting the list of to-dos every day. They're self-driven, they have business acumen, they know what direction they want to go, and they can put that stuff together. Not everyone is wired like that. Some outstanding sales professionals don't want to wake up and plan it all out. They just want to know where they're going, build their business for their company, and that is great. There's not a bad way to do it. You have to figure out who you are, and you have to know how you're wired and which one is the right fit for you. When I say we should all be thinking like independents, it goes back to that original piece that you were talking about. Risk is everywhere. So you need to think about yourself as a business person, whether you're working for a company or not. Now, if you decide that you want to go and build an independent sales practice for yourself, there are a number of different ways to get started. It's not just one. If you've got relationships with companies and you can find out if they hire independent reps, most do in certain areas. So sometimes it's just asking the questions of the companies that interest you. There are definitely recruiters who specialize in certain types of positions. We don't have one yet in dental that just specializes in independent reps. But I will tell you it's coming. And I will tell you that one of the places you can look for those types of roles is companies that are coming in and launching in the US for the first time. It's expensive to set up shop here. So it is a common request I will get from clients out of country. Hey, what would it look like if we just wanted to hire some reps there? We're not ready to open up our corporate offices yet. So what does that look like? And that's where I hear about most of the independent positions that I hear about.
Could I inject a question in there real quick? So how do we, well, obviously to me, it seems logical that the first thing that people want to do is call you to find out more about this. But once they've done that, or let's say they can't get a hold of you or whatever, I mean, I know you're busy. I know you're good about returning calls and emails and things like that. But for whatever reason, just devil's advocate. Well, I don't want to say that I'm a devout Christian. Let's just say something comes up where they can't get a hold of you. Is there a resource where they could locate these opportunities or these companies, or pretty much they should probably just give you or another recruiter, preferably you? I mean, I know and trust you for this process. If they were thinking about this opportunity, how do they do that?
Well, I need you I need to be clear that this is something that's growing and evolving. Right now, independent reps are just independent. They don't tend to get together on a lot of things. Everybody's got to figure out their own project. That's part of it. But in my searches for different recruiters who specialize in things, which is something I'm doing all the time, I just have yet to find one in dental specifically pulling this all together. So if somebody wants to pursue this or wants to look into it further, it's about networking and starting conversations. I am very difficult to get a hold of by phone. In fact, all my candidates know they can text me. I'm a much better responder there, but I lost the ability to just pick up the phone and call people years back. So, and that's the way everybody's world is right now. But you find some people who are interested in the subject, and everybody works together to find the information. That's how you pull this together. It's not a fixed system yet. So if you're interested in being an independent rep, connect with me, connect with other recruiters, connect with companies directly, and seek out the information. Ask the questions. Everybody knows somebody who can get you a little bit closer to what you're after. And in the meantime, I'll be continuing to work on pulling that avenue together for everyone so it is known.
All right. Well, my entrepreneurial wheels are turning, and this was unplanned. And forgive me if you will, but I want to make a suggestion, and you can take it or leave it. But I think you're sitting on a potential gold mine because you have real value to offer. So you could put together an information product, a training. So have a limited number of people attend the training. You do it online, put it together, have people go through the training. And then at that point, you now have created an information product that could be sold into perpetuity, and from time to time you update it, but with minimal effort. So if somebody hits your website, pagemeadrecruiting.com, they might see a tab on your homepage that says interested in being, an independent sales rep. Click here for more information. They could download a report, watch a video, whatever, and then from there you lead them in a funnel into this program that you've created, and you don't have to manage them hands-on. At the point of managing them hands-on is when they've ascended up your value ladder to the point of, instead of paying you $1,000, $997 for this program, which really is way too underpriced as far as really looking at the value. If somebody said to an individual who's looking for a job and considering this, hey, give me $1,000 and I'm going to give you the keys that are going to allow you to go out and start your own business, show you all the ropes, tell you who to talk to, give you the connections and everything else, that's a no-brainer sale. So they would do that. but the people that you would actually end up investing time to talk with are the people who are paying you a lot more money, which could be from the manufacturer side
Mhm.
and the side of people who are looking for. So just a thought I had with respect to that. But do you have any, let
Thank
me,
you.
let
You
me
know,
ask.
dancing around in my brain because all that's in there too. I'd love to have that conversation with you more offline.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. But yeah, that's what I do is I help people do that. But anytime, and it doesn't happen often, but when it does, when the light comes on, I'm like, wow, here's an opportunity here that, wow, she's got a great opportunity or he's got a great opportunity. And I really think you do. I think you just, the way you're describing this, and because I know the dental industry,
Mhm.
and you said there's no one else, this could be really good. So having said that, how about this? And then want to kind of jump into this. We're all, depending on when you're listening to this, we're either still dealing with the coronavirus and the loss of jobs. And if you've lost your job, listen, I feel for you. I went through many years ago, was hit head on by a dump truck many years ago. It bankrupted me. It literally did. I was a young doctor, just bought a clinic and two clinics in a house from another doctor. I'm in a medically induced coma. And the doctor I bought my practice, flown by helicopter. I've had 18 surgeries.
Oh,
The doctor I bought the practice from had another office 25 miles away. This is in a very rural part of Missouri, but his wife wrote a letter to everybody. We had a non-compete. They weren't allowed to contact any patients, but they did. They wrote a letter to all the patients from one of the practices and said, he's going to die. It's his dying wish. We just went to visit him.
yeah.
He wants you to go back and see us. He wants you to drive to see us. So my brother-in-law at the time, who was a chiropractor, was going to come in and cover for me. All my patients were gone because of this letter. And we got a hold of the letter and there was a big, attorneys involved and everything else. But
Wow.
talk about having the rug pulled out from under you. I feel for you if you're going through this. And listen, if you're a business owner, if you're in the stock market, I mean, just a whole lot of stuff. This could look really scary, but keep your chin up, guys. We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
And things on the flip side, watch the economy skyrocket faster than it was before. We will get through this. Things will be a little different, but it's going to turn around and there is light at the end of the tunnel. I promise you it's going to happen. But having said that, we talked about this a little before, Paige, before the call started. Any specific suggestions you might give people? Like one of the things I tell people to do, hey, listen, maybe you're not able to, like dentists, I'm sending out emails. Listen, your patients aren't coming in right now. Send them encouraging emails. Maybe not, you're not trying to sell them stuff. Let them know you're there. Let them know you're thinking about them. Let them know you care. Send them, like I found a really cool article on hydroxychloroquine, like last week before this was released in the news. And so I started sending that out. Share this with your patients. This is encouraging. This is going to make them feel better. And you're touching. The relationship is still being kept alive.
That's right.
Anything you can suggest to people who might be considering moving into dental, or maybe they lost their job or they're going to be looking for a job, any steps you can recommend that they could be working on now in the process to get ready so when there's traction, they can hit the ground and take off fast?
Yes. First, thank you for that question. I appreciate hearing somebody else with that energy behind that point, because I agree with you 100%. This is very temporary. It's painful. That doesn't make it not important or anything else. But it is temporary. And when this clears, when the skies clear, things are going to take off like a rocket. So I have really just consigned myself to, like everybody else, this self isolation piece. But now's the time to fill your brain with good learning, whether it's a book you've been putting off or whether it's your own personal digging in and plowing into emotional, whatever kind of work has been on your list of to-dos, get it right in front of you right now, because now is definitely a time to grow professionally through the middle of all this pain and scary stuff. So, I mean, that's where I am with candidates right now. Do I know when this is going to wrap up? No, but I am not changing course for business. We'll be there to encourage clients, and I'll be there to encourage my candidates, but this is temporary.
Yeah,
so get the business of growing.
The worst thing people could do, and I mentioned this to you through LinkedIn messaging, I think it's a mistake to show grocery stores with empty shelves, because the grocery stores, I got two really close to us out here. We live in it's not rural, but I'm in far West St. Louis County. And so people have 6 to 10 acre lots with their houses.
Right.
But my grocery stores still have plenty of food. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I can get what I need. It may not be there that day, but I'll go later that day and it's there.
Right.
Or you see on the news, no matter what station you watch, like lines of people at gun stores. And that's not universal across the country. And that perpetuates and instills fear in people. And what we should be doing as professional, and like I tell my clients and members, words have meanings. You know, if we look at the dictionary, the word professional has a meaning. And so as a professional, you can work on making yourself more valuable to the marketplace. If you're not working, if they've got you at home, working from home or whatever, invest in yourself or help other people. Do what you can to help other people. Continue to have a spirit of service, and that will help you when we start to get traction again. And we're going to get it faster than people think. We really are.
Yeah.
We really are. So you got time for a couple more questions?
Sure. Go for it.
Okay. How do you help people find their dream job? So if I'm a guy or a gal looking for, well, I don't want to be a gal, but let's say I'm a guy, because I am a guy, looking for a dream job in dental. Let's say that I've been a salesperson somewhere else, and I'm excited by what I've heard. I'm excited. I read your book. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I can do this. I want to do this. Paige has got me all motivated. What's the process? How do you help me land that dream job? Because I know you're doing it for a lot of people.
Sure. Well, there's 2 first steps. One, figure it out for yourself in terms of what it is that you want. Forgive me, that kind of came out wrong. But I have a lot of people who come to me and say, can you help me get where I want to go? Well, yeah, the next question is, where do you want to go? Oh, I don't know. That's a really common answer. But if you don't have any idea what your future finish lines are or the goals you're headed toward, if you don't know what they are, then I'm not going to be able to do anything to help you. So the first thing is take the time, and maybe it's right now, in all of this messy stuff, take the time to figure out where you want to go. And this is not a cheesy question like, where do I want to be in 5 years or 10 years? This is literally when you look at your career and you see the finish line, where is it? What is it? What are you doing? It can be a simple answer. Well, I want to make this much money and I want to be able to go this direction. Fine. If that's what your finish line looks like, it doesn't have to be that developed out, but have one. So if you don't know where you want to go, figure that part out first. And then in terms of finding your dream job, you just have to be willing to experiment and discover. I've got a little assignment, my website, on the candidate resources page. I call it my shortlist assignment. It's just a company from every different segment of business in the dental industry. Most people, like I said, even those people who have had their whole careers here, don't know what all the options are. So start by just taking a look at your options.
How do we find it? What's the name? What page is that? What's the URL? How do we find that page?
It's on my website, PaigeMeadRecruiting.com. The tab is Candidate Resources.
Okay.
Click on the tab, you'll see a downloadable assignment called the shortlist. That's it. And all I say to candidates is, all right, this is new space to you, whether it is or it isn't. Just get on the websites for any of the companies on this list and look at what they sell. And it blows people's minds. Whoa, that wasn't there the last time that I, looked around. Or maybe it's their first look into dental, and at least you can see some of the landscape. So it's not an all-inclusive thing. And they are not all my clients. This is just about giving people a picture of what's out there. So I would say open your eyes and look first.
Okay. So let me ask you this. What's the one question today that I didn't ask, but I should have asked you?
I have to think about that. Do I have time to think?
You take as much time as you want. That's a common response. Like, few people come up with an answer right away. I learned that from Larry King. I'll be frank with you. I didn't come up with that brilliant question on my own, but it is a great question, I think.
It's a great question. Yeah.
And if you can't think of something, I'll just chop this part out. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. There isn't something I was dying to talk about. We've gone a lot of different directions that I enjoy.
Okay. And so the book is available. Tell us where we can get the book. First, tell us the name of your book and where we can get it, including your website.
Okay. Do you want me to spell out the website again too?
You know, I learned a long time ago, Paige, you got to do that because some people just don't pay attention and they may be really smart people, but you got to, I mean, like I got to put on my website, click here. You want the report? Click here now. Or the button
Right.
says yes, click, send me the report or, send me the video, whatever it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right. Well, you can, my book is called The Chocolate Room, Exploring the Dental Industry as Your Next Sales Career Destination. And you can get it online at Amazon. You can also go to my website, pagemeadrecruiting.com, and buy it there. The website again is pagemeadrecruiting.com.
Spell it.
Yeah, PageMeadRecruiting.com.
.com. And Paige, are you holding your book right now?
I am. I actually had to look at the title to make sure I got it right.
Hold it up so we can see it. Hold it up. I got the Kindle version. That way I could read it more quickly. There you go.
Oh, I totally thought of the question I would ask.
Well, there you go. So let's have it. What is the question, Paige, that I should have asked today? What's the one question? So let me do this. So Paige, what's the one question? And then I'll have this segued, or I'll have this stitched back in prior. So I'll put this part back ahead of the ending we just did. So Paige, what's the one question today that I should have asked, but I didn't ask?
The question would be, what's the wildest, weirdest thing that's come out of writing the book that you didn't expect?
And what would the answer to that be?
The answer would be, I have had companies reach out to me and ask me about using it as training material for their new hires in the dental industry.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fabulous opportunity. We're probably going to be rebranding the book for commercial use, so the cover will change when we do this, but it's in the works right now. And yeah, just the ability to share it with companies that have folks coming in from other spaces and have never been in dental before.
And you're getting paid for that, right? I hope. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Because we're in business to make a profit on purpose. Yeah, we want to serve people, but we got to make a profit on purpose. That's how we keep employees and do what we do. Okay, so something I might suggest, and I'll cut this part off.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing it on your website. Do you mind if I just give you a suggestion?
Absolutely.
I am quite confident you have lots and lots and lots of people, and this again is cut off. No one will hear this except you and I, people that you've helped. Right? So clients, or I don't know if you call them clients or customers. I guess you call them clients, right?
Company. Oh, well, I have two clients, but I call them clients and candidates.
Okay. So, that's the nomenclature I wasn't sure on. So either candidates or clients, but I'm sure if you got those people to give you a testimonial on video, i.e. social proof. Are you a reader? Do you like to read?
Oh, yeah.
Have you read Bob Cialdini's book? The title of the book is called Influence. It's the 5th edition. It came out many years ago, but it's a great book. Have you read that book?
No.
That's one of the books, and
Influence. All right.
Probably 1,500 books I've read, probably 1,500. I've got almost 1,000 in my Kindle library, just in Kindle alone. But that's a book, and you want to get the 5th edition, Cialdini, Robert Cialdini. It's pronounced Cialdini, but it looks like Cialdini.
Okay.
But read that book, because in there he talks about the power of social proof. And social proof is, give you a quick example. You got time for like 2 minutes so I can explain this to you?
I have tons of time.
Okay. So imagine, Paige, that what's your husband's name?
Lance.
Okay. So Lance was my best friend through college. So imagine that Lance and you hear about a brand new, what's your favorite kind of food?
That's a tough question.
Let's just say Thai food or something, steakhouse, whatever it is, doesn't matter. But let's just say a Thai food restaurant. Lance comes home and he says, hey, listen, I heard on the radio, and then here it's on the paper, and then I saw this flyer. There's a new Thai restaurant that's coming, and it's going to be open in 3 weeks, and everybody's raving about it, and that famous chef from Europe is going to come over, and he's going to be working there, and we just love Thai food, and we're going to go there, and it's going to be great. And then you look at your schedules, and you're like, okay, well, you're talking, and then it's going to be open in a week, and your schedules are conflicted, and you're like, hey, we can't get there for 3 weeks. So the first weekend, the restaurant opens. But anyway, you make your reservations, right? 3 weeks after it's open, you're going to be going. The first week, parking lot's full. You drive by the restaurant. Police are in the streets. orchestrating traffic because there's so many people there,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh. That's great,
The
right?
next week, it's crowded, but there are no police. And then the weekend before you actually go, you drive by on a Saturday night, the parking lot is half full.
Uh-huh.
Prime time, 7 p.m. on a Saturday night. Now, without anyone telling you anything, no one said a word.
Yeah.
What would you surmise about either the quality of the experience, the price, something about that
It's not as
restaurant?
good as what we thought.
Correct. That is social proof.
Okay, got it.
Social proof. So you could tell everybody how wonderful your business is, and you could be telling the truth.
Uh-huh.
You could be really telling the truth without being like a braggart. I'm beating your
Uh-huh.
chest like Tarzan. Hey, look at me, look at me. And you can say, hey, listen, I do a great job. I mean, I can help you. I can help you. People don't believe us because everybody online, everybody offline says that they do a good job. I mean, we
Yeah.
expect
Yeah.
nothing less. But when you can get people that you have helped who aren't selling anything to simply share their stories with, of working with you
Yeah.
and how you help them, and there's a process for getting people to do that, you can let them sell your services for you, both from the corporate side and from the candidate side. And it makes the whole process of selling like a bazillion times easier. That's why I said in the beginning, when I talked to you about, you have a potential product here, which, is another sector for your business.
Mm-hmm.
Have a limited number of people sit through it, let them sit through it for like virtually nothing. If not, I wouldn't say free,
Mm-hmm.
$100, but that's a way to qualify them. But then tell them, here, in exchange for me letting you come through this, I want your honest feedback when we're done.
Mm-hmm.
They give you the feedback. You take that feedback, convert those into short little snippet videos. When somebody's reading about your business or your
Mm-hmm.
training,
Mm-hmm.
do they see Paige Mead? Yeah, but they see all these people who Paige has helped saying, she's just really great. I mean, I was really unsure about the dental industry. I've always thought about the dental industry. I was kind of apprehensive, didn't know which way to go. And Paige, the first guy I worked with, man, that was a terrible experience. I almost gave up my dream of working in the dental industry, and somebody referred me to Paige.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, I love my job. Paige will always be like my very best. We're BFFs now because she helped me. I'm making great money, and more than the great money I'm making, I love my job. I finally found what I really am called to do, and I love it. And I'm able, through the work I do, to help all these patients or whatever they would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you let other people say it for you. Let other people sell it for you, so to speak, so we don't have to. And doctors are real good about this. They don't like to brag about themselves. They like to show everybody their awards. Hey, look
Sure.
here, I went to the distance. I went to Pinky. I went here, I went there. Okay, well, great. Nobody knows what that means. Let your patients sell it for you. So what I was going to suggest is you think about getting those from your clients. If you don't know how to do those, read his book. But also, because you were on my podcast and I have nothing to sell, I'm going to give it to you. I have a video training that I'm going to be doing.
Awesome.
I'm going to let you, if you want, you can attend free. The only thing is that when I give you the link, please don't give it to anybody else, because it's going to be paid. I don't care if your husband or somebody watches it with you, but in the past, I've had people just like, 500 people are showing up. I'm like, how did all these people get on here? This is,
Yeah.
it's
No,
not
I
for
don't
them.
give away things for free, let alone other people's stuff either. So I got you, and I will keep it to myself. Thank you.
And then just a couple other things I mentioned earlier. I want to get your feedback, but one more thing on that product, and I've got some other stuff working in my head. If you want to, do you see the possibility, I mean, for doing that for yourself? Because I see, and I don't know as much as you do, but I think there's a potential here to make money without much. All the effort's front loaded. You create the framework, you outline all the information you want to relay, you teach it, you record it, and then it's done.
I'm very interested in this. It's it, just the whole idea that you're talking about it is different things that I've been thinking about, and I either haven't had the time or I get stuck on one thing. Like confidentiality is one of the things that keeps people from talking about their experience with a recruiter. They don't want people to know they're looking or have been looking or did a certain thing. So there are some folks who won't want to do it, which is fine.
So give me just real quick, give me an example when you say confidentiality, because when you do a video testimonial, unlike a written testimonial, first of all, written testimonials are incredulous now. They are not believed.
Yeah.
Especially when you see a testimonial that's like Mark S.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if you got all these people, here's the thought process, and it's a subconscious process. we all have this built-in firewall. It's called the sales prevention firewall, where somebody talks to you about selling you something. You're like, hold on a minute, they're trying to sell me something, even if it's something you want. And so innately we're like, hey, they're trying to sell me something. The way to get past that, there's a way to get past that. And it's very easy. People would, if everybody knew how easy it was to just slide your message right past that, is to let other people who are just like them, who aren't trying to sell them, just simply, because we're all creatures of habit. People are like cows. They're like cattle. We have a herd mentality. And so if you watch cows, I don't know if you know anything about farm animals or horses or anything like that, but if one cow goes, they're all laying down, chewing their cud, one gets up to go get some water down at the pond. Then they all start one at a time. They start following, or when one goose takes off out of the water, or a duck, then another one, and then guess what? Then a whole bunch of them do.
Yeah.
It's not like one or two leave and then, an hour goes by and then another one or two. No, they leave in mass. That's just the herd mentality of people. And so if you can get people to say, but with respect to this confidentiality thing, they don't have to say who they are.
Yeah.
They can just say, yeah, she helped me with this. And they don't have to say the name of the company. They could just say, you know what? I've worked with a lot of recruiters. Here could be a great testimonial. In the past, I worked with recruiters and I really didn't enjoy the process. But then I met Paige Mead, and I will never be hesitant to go to another recruiter again, as long as it's Paige Mead, because of the experience that I had. So that's a great outcome. And that way nobody knows who they are. And everybody doesn't want to give their testimonial. That's fine. That's okay, because you have more than enough people who will. And how many do you need? As many as you can get, but any help, a lot. They make it will transform your business like you cannot imagine. But anyway, can I get your feedback on the show today?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm doing right now what I'm telling you to do. This is exactly how it works. Okay, so Paige, you've been on. So I'm going to ask you a question. If you could, just a couple. Answer me with a complete sentence. So if I say, tell me who you are and what you do, you would say, oh, I'm a recruiter. You would say, hey, I'm Paige Mead. I'm a recruiter, and I was on the Get Clients Now podcast today. So tell me who you are, what you do, because this will also be another way to plug your business. And tell me briefly, what was the thing you liked best about being on the show today on the Get Clients Now podcast? So it would be something like this. Hi, I'm Paige Mead. I'm the owner and founder of Paige Mead Recruiting. And I was on the Get Clients Now podcast with Ken today. And what I really enjoyed was he made me feel comfortable, or he asked really good questions, or whatever you feel is true for you. And if you can't think of anything, then tell me what I need to fix. That's what I want to know.
Got it. Okay. Tell me when.
Go.